Welcome back to UVC Chronicles, an initiative by the UVC Graduates Association, a show where we give you a sneak peek into the life of our alumni. I'm Mohammed Rayan Sailani, and in today's episode we have Mr. Seetharam Satish from the batch of Electronics Engineering 1989. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Nothing's like a first-hand introduction, so can we please have an introduction from your side?
Hello, Ryan, and to all my fellow UVC alumni. So I'm Satish, who passed out in 1989 from the electronics branch, joined in 84. Post my completion of graduation, I took up a job in L&T from campus and started my journey from L&T. I was there for 5 years in Mysore most of the time, and then I shifted base to Bangalore due to my parents. I had to take care of them, and therefore I moved to Bosch, and that's where I worked for about 23 years. And in the last couple of years, I've been with MAN as the managing director. This is in brief my journey since UVCE.
That's very nice to hear, Mr. Satish. So we'd actually like to hear more about how your time at UVC was spent. We'd love to hear a recollection of your time in UVC. Could you just share your experience on that?
Definitely. So, becoming an engineer, that was a childhood dream, mainly because of two reasons. One was the expectations from my parents and family. The first, second circle, where, the expectation was either, a guy becomes a doctor or an engineer. And my personal role model was Sir M.V., and therefore I wanted to personally become an engineer, so this was what I had in mind as, since childhood. And after completing my second year PUC, I was able to get or join UVCE, which was one of the best colleges in this part of the country, and it gave me a great sense of joy since there were not many people in my immediate family circle who had done their engineering, and therefore this was something which made me feel very proud. The first year was the most interesting for me personally, since there was a lot of learning through doing, so the experiential learning, for example, the workshop practice, whether it is smithy, fitters, foundry, or carpentry. In fact, even I had purchased some tools at home to do some of those things also on for some repairs and all that. I did do some work for example, building a ramp at my home for taking the scooter inside or parking it inside, so things like that. These were small things which I was also doing at home, but then learning it in the college, which gives you a stamp of and also as a part of a course has a different weightage altogether. And these skills, what I learned in the college, are helping me even today to probably carry out some of the repairs at home. For example, some of the electric gadgets and all that. I mean, just to quote a practical example, last year after the lockdown, the fan in the living room, there was a short circuit. I saw a spark, and then it stopped working. When I called up the Crompton Graves guy, he said, "Sir, now it is lockdown, so I will not be able to come. But I can tell you, how you can do it. If you are able to do it, then you can repair it yourself. So with whatever experience and skills that I had built, I was able to just open it up, remove the motor and all the wiring, and the design is such that there is a very small hole through which the wires come out, and because of the movement of the motor, the insulation breaks off, and then there is a short which happens, and I was able to do it. I also took help from my children, and thereby we were able to repair it. So this was something which came in handy with the skills that I learned from the workshop practice, I would say, from UVCE. So the do-it-yourself journey, this got reinforced during my college time in UVCE. But unfortunately, I feel that it's a pity the current students, including my own children, are not able to get this in the way that we got it when we were studying in UVCE. and therefore I make it a point to involve my children, whenever I do this, so that they are also able to build up their skills, which I feel is very important. Either if you're going to become an entrepreneur, or you take up a professional career, or just plainly to become a good engineer. So. And also, talking about my UVC days, I had the fortune of being the class representative for almost 4 years, and these were my first lessons in people management, where I had to interact with the class, the entire class, the lecturers, the professors, and also the others in the college or the university. For example, even when we had to probably get exams postponed because the syllabus was not completed and things like that. So this was my first lessons in people management, which definitely has helped me in my career later on. To summarize, the years that I spent at UVC was the golden period of my student life. In fact, if I look back, though many people, were saying that 4 years has got extended to 5 years, but I feel that gave me personally an additional 1 year of learning experience. Also, for example, when we did a project at CDOT, thanks to one of my classmates, we were able to get a project at CDOT. So this was like Atmanirbhar in those days, when telecommunication, we had to make a huge change in the technology, and we had the opportunity of getting involved in one of those projects. So basically, learning theory is one in the class, but then what is the practical application of these concepts, and how useful it would be in the marketplace. And this is what I was able to learn and appreciate during the course of the project, where we were able to build a circuit board in a fairly big 10-inch by 12-inch. We had to do it all manually, soldering, even the wiring. We had to solder it, test it, and also then make it work at the end. So all this, gave us a very good hands-on learning for us, which also I feel, helped me in getting a campus job at L&T. And also during my initial work life.
I can surely agree that the memories and the knowledge gained at UVC is very enriching and everlasting. You have also worked on several projects in collaboration with the Japanese. What aspects of that experience do you think are really important?
For this question, I started the first project in my second job in 1998. And this was a project which was running between Germany and Japan. But then the management decided that the support for Japan has to be increased, and the best place was from India. And therefore I got involved in this project, and we made the start at that point of time. There are several aspects. I'll probably take you through one by one. So if you look at the cultural aspect, Japan and Germany, if I look at it, they would be at probably, slightly apart at two ends. They find really difficult in working with each other. But we can pride ourselves that in India, we are not only geographically in the middle, but also culturally, we are between Germany and Japan. From German, the expectation is that they would love everything to be in black and white, everything clearly explained and spoken. Whereas, from a Japanese point of view, they would expect the partners to understand the context more and less on the words that is probably spoken. So if I can use the term fuzzy, these are the culture from Japan. And for these two cultures to get together, it was quite tough, and we were in a best situation to understand not only the Japanese, because, they belong to Asia, and from that point of view, we have a close connect with them. And of course, understanding German was also not difficult for us, and we were able to run these projects successfully. And then eventually, the team became close to 400 in the subsequent years. And I was also the country mentor for Japan in my company at that point of time. So that was about the culture, because that's very important, I feel, to understand the differences, and then you're able to take care in the business context. And talking about what makes it important to work with Japanese is also that if you look at, Japanese are very good in making continuous improvements, so, and also the focus on customer is very high. We often hear that customer is king, but then if you really want to feel this, probably if you go to Europe, you go to any other place, you would not feel that as much as you would probably if you go to Japan. These were the days I've been talking about, for example, in the late 90s, when India was not so well known as it is today. And even at that point of time, if you enter a shop, the amount of the respect or the treatment that you would get, that really made you feel that in Japan, customer is the king, and whatever that customer demands, they wouldn't say no. They would also always look at how to find a good solution for you. So the counter or expectation would be that if you are a supplier or a partner for a business, then the same expectation comes to you automatically in terms of we treating the customer. Okay, and this is a stark contrast to Europe, for example, where especially my experience in Germany, that everyone is equal. So you don't have any special treatment for the customer. Personally, for example, I had once gone to buy spectacles, for my driving license, and there it was about 18. That's 6:25 in the evening. The shops used to close at 6:30. And they said, no, it's time, so now you'll have to make your choice. I had to make a choice between one or the other, but then I was not given whatever time that I would have needed, but rather, they go by the rules, and if not, now you can come later. So this was the treatment that normally they would give for any customer. So these are the differences that you would find in the marketplace. And the same thing would, if you take to the workplace, that would be also the expectations from the customers on us as a company. Yeah. The third aspect is the importance that the Japanese give for testing and validation. The rigor that they use to make the test plans, the test cases, and also the test reports. Very meticulous, and even the small things are given high importance, and this is something I would say we should learn. And every feature and functionality is thoroughly tested so that all the use cases are covered and the product then performs as per the expectation. That's probably talks about the craze that we had for the Japanese products in those times. And coming to work, working with the Japanese, it's very important to build a trust on a personal level. It does take a long time to establish this rapport, but once you have done it, then it stays for a lifetime, I would say, for a very long time. And this is what would help business in the long run. And of course, there are the others. I think many of us are familiar with Kaizen and the root cause analysis, the 5A, the Toyota TPM. So these are all the other aspects. If you are able to, then I was also able to learn and then introduce it in my company, at that point of time, and take it forward from there, which did help the business to a large extent.
It was indeed very beautiful to hear about your experiences working with the Japanese, sir. Coming to the present, now you are leading one of the oldest automotive organizations. How was it like to see the transformation from a manager to a leader? Could you also tell us about the EGMP program from IIMB Bangalore that you were a part of?
Sure. the transformation, I would say, what happened in probably two phases. So one, the first one, from, I was a technical leader or a technical manager, as I was called. So from that, I had to transform to a manager, So that was my first transformation. So this was also around that time in the late 90s, beginning, around 2001, I think, when I was told by my boss that Satish, you're good in technical. Why do you want to go to management? So and then I thought about it, and then I had a discussion with him. I told him that yes, I'm good, but then looking into the future, I feel that I may have to probably make the switch. In his view, he said people who are not good in technical normally move to management. Probably we do have a lot of good guys in management, but then probably people who are not comfortable technical would also move over as a manager. So that was his view. But then I said I would want to make the difference that there are good people also in management, because I've also seen a lot of managers, and I felt that there is a need for good people also to be in management. Of course, I had the fortune of having very good managers, whether it was in L&T or in Bosch, for many years. But then that was also for me, some role models that I said, I would also want to become a good manager or a leader like them. And that's where he accepted and then decided to make me a project manager. And from there, I moved on to a group manager, and then eventually a department manager, and where I handled about a big team of about 320, 330 people. So the transition from a manager to a leader, it started happening in that journey. And of course, there's a lot of, you learn a lot by doing with the practical situations, and also through the multiple leadership, training programs that were offered for a managerial career path, which also helped me to get where I am today. So I personally feel, that, when I pose this question, what is challenging? Is it technical issues, or is it people issues? I have not, no one has denied, my statement that it's the people issues which are more difficult to handle than the technical issues. So in my own experience, that I have worked, there are many technical experts who would love to go after the challenging problems, and they are excellent in solving them. For example, even when I went to IIT Kharagpur, they were asking, do you have any challenges, problems that we can solve it for you? Okay, so so we had also in-house many of these people, and if there is a problem, you can always get it done. But then, if you have people problems, there are hardly anyone who will offer you such a support, and then if you are the manager or a leader, then you will have to solve them yourself. Okay, so this is where I think people management of leading people would become the biggest challenge as a leader. And also in my current role, if I would look at, if you have to align the complete organization towards a common goal or a vision, preparing your leadership or the management team towards the change. For example, as in Corona, the change that we had to make at very short notice, and be agile, and also at the same time be cost efficient by making all the different teams work together. I think this is a challenging role for a leader. So though in the initial stages, the depth of on your subject matter, if you are working technically, is very important. Over the years, the breadth of experience also becomes important. And for example, in my current role, I have to deal with after sales, for example. So how do we plan? How do we solve the problems on the field? purchasing, sourcing, all the components, the parts, the different contracts that we have, also the finances, the legal aspects, the taxation part of it, okay, and also the corporate governance and compliance, including HR and admin. These are all the functions that today that makes my job very challenging and at the same time very interesting. And when I took up the first job, as a new joinees, all of us used to talk and what is it that we want to do. I always had this dream that why not I lead the organization. So this was a dream that I had after I took up the first job. But then, of course, I did not keep it in my mind all these days. But then currently, when I got this opportunity, I feel that this is really a very good opportunity for me to use all the skills that I had, and many of which I learned in the college and during my engineering. That plays a very important part. And you asked me about being a leader. So as a leader, I think there are many aspects. So depending on the situation, I think we have to take decisions and getting the right balance under any situation, under any circumstances. I think that's the key towards leadership. And the final thing I would like to add is during the course of my journey into the leadership, the EJMP, the Executive General Management Program at IIMB, this was very useful. In a sense, I think all of us, as we go forward, looking at the way the economy is moving, we will have to all be entrepreneurial leaders, be it inside a company or outside. Yeah. So, and in this IIMB course, we were put into the rigor. So, probably we had to do a lot of things in a very limited time because we were also working at that point of time. So that also put us into additional pressure. But in the process of that, we were able to learn a lot. And at the end of this course, we had this capstone business simulation, where this was designed in such a way that all the learnings that we picked up during this course, we should be able to put it into this business simulation game. We were divided into multiple groups, and there were many rounds of how you do the business, and then so you play different roles in the course of this capstone business simulation game. But then it also carries a lot of weight, and at the end it gives you the result, whether you're winning the market or whether you're making money or losing money. It was very interesting. And at the end of it, my team won this game, and this personally gave me a lot of confidence that I would be able to take up the leadership journey. So from that point of view, I feel the course at IIMB was indeed for me personally very useful and as a stepping stone to my next role.
The transformation that you took us through was very insightful and inspiring. Sir, you also talked about startups and entrepreneurship. What is your take on startups? We'd love to hear about the other things that you involve yourself in terms of the society and the environment apart from your professional preoccupations.
Yes. So before I took up this job, briefly, I was involved in a startup. So if I look at the current situation, the future of the big companies and lifetime job guarantees are certainly going down and more in the last few years than in the past. Okay, so if today you would find that you have a job that is guaranteed until your retirement, I don't think we would find one. So in this situation, I would suggest that for example, all our students who are graduating now from the college, they would have to be prepared to become an entrepreneur. And the changes that have happened in India in the recent past is also enabling them to become an entrepreneur. It's much easier today than it was when probably we passed out. Okay, and there are also the support base, the infrastructure is available. So when we think of an entrepreneur, the first thing that comes to the mind is that, we would want to have an innovative product and bring it to the market, and then, have a big market share, which would then give us the money. But then to make that happen, I think it's a very long time to go, and we should start thinking small in the beginning. And not just about a product, but as a service. For when I was working in L&T, the motto was "In service lies success." And also today, in my current company, one of the board members, he said the first sale is done by the sales team, but then the subsequent sales happens only with service. So if you're talking about service, it is a service related to a product, or it could even be service, whether it's engineering or software, which we can think of, not necessarily a product. And this is where this was the thought that I had. And when I had this opportunity, then I thought, why not start a startup by providing service, engineering and software service. And this was successful until I took up the job, and then I handed over to my colleagues. And the big advantage of having such a startup is that it does not require any huge initial investment. So the investment is low, the risks are correspondingly lower, and it does give a steady income, because you would charge on an hourly basis. So you do the work, you get the money, which keeps your cash flow intact, and then you could then start planning for the innovation or the product or whatever that you have in mind, which can come subsequently. So the first is if you are able to have the bread and butter, and then you can think of investing it further or taking some risks. And when you're talking about a product, it's definitely capital intensive, and the cycle times are long, and your pockets have to be deep. Even big companies have seen are struggling, to make this successful, and the success rates are also not very high. So, being an entrepreneur, I feel, especially at a younger age, and if you have to be financially independent, starting small and being conservative, I think is very important. So this is something which I had in mind and with which I started, and this did prove good, at least in the venture that I was involved in. And using, you're talking about society and environment. Yes, during weekends I also get involved in my residents' welfare association. So we had association, but then that was not working for a long time. But then we spoke to a few people, and then we revived it. So it's important that to get people together, so that it's much easier than to solve the problems. Whether it is in all the local issues, garbage and maintenance and any other issues, security and things like that. So these are common issues everywhere, but then to address it when we have an association and when we get people together, it's you would realize, and also the people would appreciate that there is so much things in common, and it's much easier than when you have people talking to each other. We are a much better society, and that's what helped also me personally, though whatever that we do is in the common interest, but then it also has a personal gain, I would say, in terms of giving you a good feeling that you're able to do something for the society. And also most important, if the problems that we were trying to solve as a community, for example, garbage, is something which individually, we could do a lot. by minimizing waste to help the problem, and thanks to the initiative by the clean from Modi for Swachh Abhiyan, Swachhata Abhiyan, so what was something which was impossible, I think we are trying to make it possible, and I think it starts at the unit of society, which is the family, so if at the family level all of us are able to reduce the waste, the garbage, and the other most important aspect, what I feel, is how much of reuse that we can do to whatever that products or things that we have. If you're able to reuse it, I think we can definitely reduce a lot of this wastage, and maybe we will not be able to have the same problems what the West has had. For example, I can give you an example. We had also, this is again during the Corona times. There was a microwave oven, what we were using. Of course, I bought it for some 11,000. May not be too much, but then it stopped working. So if I called the engineer, he said, "Sir, my a magnetron that would cost about 3,000, but then and repair charges and all that, you can as well buy a new one." So probably anyone maybe would have thought, yes, that's the right way of doing it. But then in the process, we would only be adding so much of waste. So then I said, let me give it a try. And therefore, it took me a little bit of time to do some research and get a magnetron. The basic thing was only the magnetron had gone bad. So we were able to get the right magnetron. Of course, I involved my son in that, and then we were able to replace it. So some soldering, some wiring, all that, and then now that since the last 4, 5, 6 months, it's been working. So if I think we build these skills to reuse, at an individual level, the amount of waste that we create, we can definitely reduce. And one of my residents, neighbors, he said, "There's hardly anything that goes out of my house. I do everything, even composting and all that." So these are good examples that we are also trying to do it. Plus also, bring it around in the neighborhood that we are able to have a much better society for the future, and we leave the environment for the next generations in a way that we would want to have it. So these are some things. And also, for example, UVC, probably whatever that we have learned, if of course I'm able to use it, something for my own self and from my family, but also for example for the next generations, making UVC great again, and probably also making it autonomous. So these are also some things which very dear to my heart, and I would love to see that happen one day.
So indeed, your thoughts on entrepreneurship were very insightful, and your experiences and your examples about contributing to the society are also very inspiring for us as students and as budding engineers. It was indeed a very insightful experience, sir. We would all like to wish you all the very best for indeed what we are sure of will be a very glorious career. Thanks a lot for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and I really thank UVC Graduates Association, Satish, and all of you, and the committee members who are doing a great job in taking this forward. And I'm really very happy and thankful for giving me this opportunity to share my experience, and I hope this would help a lot of our new UVC graduates. Thank you very much once again.
Folks, that is all for this episode. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you've had a good time. This is Mohammed Rayan Sailani, and I'm signing off.